I mean, I can see things without them. Just, I think I can see things without them. It turns out I really can't see as well as I think I can see.
Oh yeah, I'm the same. I'm 100% the same.
Like, I believe I can see without my glasses. Okay, I'm moving over to the other side here for a little while. Hello from the other side. All
Oh, we're
right,
gonna
we
get
are here.
copyrighted now.
Oh, well, you know what? I can't help. It's not like I did a good example of her.
Uh, I am now texting my husband to bring down glasses.
And Mr. or Miss, I should
Hello,
say,
Miss Jan.
Lady Bernina over there, if you don't work out for me today, I'm going to move back to the discount machine. Sorry, I have to talk to her.
Chantel's making
She
veiled
costs so
threats to her
much.
machine because she is apparently a sentient machine now
You pay
and
that
is
much, that
aware.
thing is alive.
Yes. And it's unhappy that she's not using her as much as she would like.
Mm-mm.
So Chantel's working on foundation paper piecing, which is new for her. And I
Yes.
was about to tell her a rule that I used to have, where there are certain things that I won't do as a quilter after about 10 o'clock at night because I don't
Oh,
trust myself to do it correctly. Cutting new quilts is one of them. Um, Paper piecing, another that I generally tend to mess up. So that if you start finding that you're making some mistakes, it might not be you. It might just be that you're live on the internet and
uh,
it's nearing 10 o'clock.
we're going to pretend that that is the problem. However, we all know that I'm really just actually new at this and I
You are.
don't know what I'm doing.
It's all
I'm like,
good.
why isn't this going to? I'm trying to get you guys to conceal your comments. I was on the wrong account.
It is all
There we
good.
go.
Let's see who's
There
on
we
tonight.
are.
We decided to take a break last week. Chantel was at QuiltCon and I was tired
Oh
too.
my gosh. And I was exhausted. I got to
And so,
pretend like I was, awake for a little while there. I was kind of ready to go. And then I just passed out.
yeah, she's like, I could do it. I'm like, no, I'm tired
You know
too now.
you can't. She was very nice
We've
about it.
talked about it several hours ago. I've already made the decision that this is not going to happen and I'm ready to go to bed at like 9:30.
She's like, I'm done.
I did not even listening to my book that night. I like just went to bed and slept.
Which we need to bring up. You have,
I'm in trouble is what I am. So I started reading the Empyrean series, which is Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm, which just came out a month ago. And it follows, it's a fictional world where there are dragons and riders who ride these dragons.
Mhm.
And it's all these 20 somethings in this war college who are up against many magical things. And
Things.
doing the things that 20
There's some
somethings do
love
when they're at college.
scenes.
It's a little spicy. And so I started reading it. I had put off reading it because I'm like sometimes when a book is so popular, I feel like it's a letdown when you like actually get to read it.
This is how I
And
feel now that I'm
yeah,
being forced into this.
I did. So I felt like when I got to the end of Onyx Storm, which is the third book that just came out, there's going to be at least 2 years till the next one comes out, and there's going to be a fifth one after that. There is a hole in my heart after that book came out, or after I finished it because it's just like heart-rendingly like you just are rooting for these characters. Like I had to take anxiety medication for fictional characters, and like
Wouldn't be my first time,
when
but
that
I
happened, no,
do
it's
see
not my
my
first time
face like
either.
looking at you in the camera. I'm just like,
I know. I like
I'm
this is not my
sorry.
first time either. Like I've done that too before for other books. It's like when
I
it's
look
that
so
good,
sad.
it's that good. So I had this hole in my heart and I thought, okay, I'm gonna read ACOTAR, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is like fairy fairy smut. Is
It's very
and
smut.
I'm on the fifth book now. I've gone through eight very long romantasy books in the month of February, all on the audiobook. I'm not like that, like it's while I'm doing other things. But it's just like I cannot let it go. I'm just invested in these characters,
It's forever.
and I really did
Oh my
not think I
God.
would like the explicitness of it, but I'm a
You know,
convert. I'm a convert now.
oh my
So
gosh.
it's all good. Although I learned my lesson that I really should pick when I'm listening to certain things. 'Cause if you go online, it'll say like these are the spicy chapters. So like
Without
And I
giving
got
details of
yeah,
like,
they'll be
with
like like everyone knows like in the second book, like chapter
it's like a trigger
55.
warning, but
Chapter
like,
55 in the second book in the ACOTAR series, like that one you need to be alone to read it. Like and but I was like
you
at
don't
my
want to be reading that during
no.
ballet and your kids like,
And that's what happened to me tonight. I got to a scene and I thought I could keep my face still. And then they said, I'm not going to say it online because we'll get probably in trouble, but it was very graphic and I could not keep my face still. And I was just like laughing with embarrassment, even
yeah,
though nobody knows what I'm listening to. I'm just like, oh my God. I'm just like in the
like
waiting
you're
room at
turned pink.
gymnastics. Oh yeah, just totally blushed out.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
like, oh my God. Like,
That's
yes.
that's too much. See, I don't know if I want a book that makes me feel emotional things. I kind of like my very boring book that I've been reading for the
So
whole month of February. There's
here's
still nothing has happened yet in my book, by the way. Like, I mean,
it's okay.
yeah. And it's
I
not, that much long. I mean, I guess I'm like a third of the way in, but it's a Regency romance. You can't expect much from it.
no,
I mean, they write like a book every 3 months. Not all of them will be winners.
but like
These
I
books apparently are
I kind
winners.
of like it because like the one that you started A Court of Thorns and Roses. I feel like the first half is like Beauty and the Beast with some weird fairy fights
That's when
in
you get
it.
an opportunity to exit the
Yes,
scene, right?
it is. You
Before
get
the
a little
scenes
bit.
start.
And
Did you
I'm
guys
like,
all know you're going to a book club now?
well, we are a little bit. But you're gonna have to give progress updates of what you're thinking without giving away too many spoilers. But then it gets really interesting, and then book two is just like bam, hits you like right off the bat, and like
I don't know. I
yeah, like I don't know. Like I was talking to my sister as I was like coming up to like a pivotal chapter
Mhm.
in like book two, and I was like, I feel like this is not going to happen. This thing that she's going for, and she's like, I can't tell you, and I'm like, that tells me everything that you refuse to answer this question. Like
Mm.
I now know that what
See,
I
I
think is
already
going to
know so
happen
many
is totally going
spoilers
to happen.
because of you.
I
You're
told
like,
you only
book
the
five
spicy
is
scenes.
fire.
Book five is yes, it is hot, spicy, flaming Cheeto fire in terms of the spicy stuff.
Well,
But um,
so honestly,
but
the reason
mostly
that this
like
is
I
such a
just
topic is
yes,
because this is all Stephanie did for
it
2
literally
weeks, and she did
like the
nothing
whole month.
else. I'm
I didn't
like,
do
what?
anything.
So what? What? We got to catch up. Like, what have you been doing? What's been going on? And she's literally like, I've been reading.
A lot.
And you're like, are you okay? Like, you
Well,
sleeping a lot? Nope. Just reading a lot, a
here's
lot,
the
a lot.
deal. This
Listening.
is this is why I like it. There is so much in both of the novels. Like you are immersed in the world of these people.
And while I
And
like that,
you can worry about their problems and not your problems or the
this is why
problems
my mom read all the time.
our real world problems. We don't have to think about those. We can think about fictional fairy problems. And are they going to ever get together and realize they love each other or not? Like this is really the
Oh,
most important part of my day at the moment, and I'm good with that.
this is why people love reading. My mom was a
Yes.
really big reader, and I mean, she had shelves and shelves of books that she would revisit and reread every year. And yeah, most of them were Regency style romances, but she had picked all the good ones. She had figured it out. She'd read one of those a day. She could
Oh
eat
my
books
goodness.
a lot. I mean, it was insane. She was an incredibly fast reader. And she didn't have a TV until I bought her one when I had my first job at Walmart. I'm not even kidding.
Oh my
I bought
goodness.
my mother's first TV. My TV when I was a child was black and white. You can have a TV in your room if it's black and white. Like, what a parent thing to do, right?
That is totally a parent thing to do.
So I had a black and white television as a child. I'm 39, guys. Like,
I
where
do
the heck
remember
did she find a black and white television?
I do remember having a black and white TV as a kid. I also remember, oh gosh, I haven't thought about this in forever. We had the button where you would push it and sometimes the button would come off with it.
Hmm.
Like the remote didn't exist. Like the child
No,
was the
there was
remote.
no.
They had to go up
The
and
child
push
was
it
the
on or
remote.
not. And so we would joke because it would come off. It was shaped like if you had a black olive that had been pitted.
Ah,
And so we would like put it on our fingers and be like, the TV button came off and like joke with our parents, like all this, like that was a running joke. And I can't believe my parents must have been so sick of that joke because it was made so often.
yeah.
But
I bet you
yeah,
if you brought it up,
they
they
would
would
still remember
probably
it.
like,
They probably would. Yes. But it was
that's
like
really
one of those
funny.
monstrosities that like had like caning on it and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
mine was it was like this little tube thing. I don't know. It watching Bobby's World or whatever, Sesame
I haven't
Street
thought
on a
about that forever.
black and white television, Power Rangers in the morning. And then uh when my mom and my dad got together, he at least gave me one of his old color televisions. So I upgraded. And then she didn't actually have a TV in the house until I bought her one. And then we got cable, and then HGTV became a big thing. And so she started watching television, but still eight books alive. Like I have some of her because she passed away a few years ago. I guess it's more like 7 years ago now, but I have a couple of her romance books, and you just see where she'd like break the spine and
Hmm.
read through them, and there's like little wine spots, and sometimes there's a little cigarette like burn on it.
I
Oh
I have
yeah.
I have done the thing where you're like, so you buy a digital book to save like shelf space and
Yeah.
you know
Oh, I
and
buy all
money and
Kindle
whatever.
books.
No, I have bought the entire Onyx Storm series now in paperback or in hardcover because I love it so much and I want to do a reread because she's just so good at like putting in the Easter eggs. So like this is just a little detail that's just mentioned casually, but it becomes a huge damn deal like three
All
books
I can
later.
think of is
Like,
Harry Potter and how
yes.
like that's the young adult version of an author actually being able to like put tidbits in that don't matter now but matter later.
Yeah. It's
So
definitely not young adult. I would
no, no,
not
no,
want
no, no,
any
no, no,
young
no.
adult reading
You're
these
like
books.
you're like, I want to be older than the characters that are in there because if you're that age, even then, I don't even want you reading them.
Oh, my daughter, my 10-year-old was like, Mom, what's this dragon book? I'm like, this is not a dragon book for you. This is
You
not for you. You
cannot.
cannot
Nope.
read.
Nope.
Oh, goodness.
Hello, everyone. We got
Yes.
Pennsylvania. We got Colorado. Let's see. We got Florida. Do we have anybody from the future? Any Australia
Sometimes we get
today?
Australia.
It's always somebody. People from
Maybe
all over the
we
place.
could be off a little because we didn't really like plan to be off next week. Maybe they're still like putzing in, seeing if we're on or not.
Oh,
But
and that's the way we live. I mean, we're
it
here on
is.
time because we're supposed to be.
We are.
Even then, we're not always on time. We're like having a bathroom break or something like that, like a last minute hurrah.
I will
I
tell
guess I
you
can. Oh, yeah, go
that
ahead.
there's supposed to be the spicy scene and it's like queued up for
She's
right
on her
after this
book.
is done. It's all ready to go
I like how you
right
call them
when it's done.
spicy. Like,
That's the nicest way to
that's
say
the
it.
nice way to say it. I have, oh no, I pulled them out. I got you some stuff at QuilCon. Give me a second. Maybe I took them over here.
Yes, we probably should talk about quilting and not just Stephanie's new
Well,
romantasy
we
addiction.
like to talk about our week real quick,
Yes.
because it's important. Of course, it's very me. I lost the thing already. How do I
It's all
do
good. We
that?
were talking about it like an hour ago
I
that you were
pulled it
gathering
out
things.
among all the other things, and it's even they're in a little paper bag. And
While you look for it, it
oh,
is
I found it.
now dawning on me. This is like when you asked, why did you sing in choir for your music scholarship when you played the saxophone and could have been in band? Sometimes things don't like click in my brain the way they should. And it's just
It was
dawned
a
on
big one
me
though.
that in the probably 200 plus hours I've been spending listening to audiobooks, some of which I've been doing like legitimate things that I like cannot sit down on a sewing machine. I could have been
That's
down
why it's an
here. I
audiobook.
should have been here listening
Oh
to
my God.
that while I
You
did it.
didn't do any sewing while you
I
listened to
didn't do
all those
any
books?
sewing while I was listening to it. Not one thing. I did a lot of working out at the gym because I now also want to be a fit young dragon rider. I would love
I
that to
mean,
happen.
I
Who
don't
wouldn't
blame
want
you.
their 20-year-old body back? Let me tell you.
Well, I got you two tiny things because I know you don't need big things.
No, I
But one
don't.
of them was
But I
this,
love
which
things.
if you keep working out, you're gonna have,
Small business, huge ass.
you know,
I I may
if you keep
I
working out the
sometimes
way you are,
I have
this won't
been
be relevant anymore.
I have
But
been no, I've actually been lifting weights to keep my butt. Just
then you
that's
will be
just
a small
these
business, huge ass.
these are things that you can now discover on the internet by scrolling reels of all kinds of weightlifting things you can do to make sure that you do that.
I
But
mean, when we were a kid, we had to guess. And then this one, I am so happy I got you this. You're gonna die.
quilt stuff very I didn't even identify with the fairy smut like a week and a half ago. I just need everybody to know this.
I'm
And
just
now it is my
saying.
whole personality. I love it. I'm
Somebody
addicted.
made this sticker. I didn't have
Yes.
it made. Somebody made this sticker, and this was the last one. So you are not alone.
I am not. I am not alone. Definitely not. Jan is wondering what the name of the book series is. The one with the Dragon Riders is called the Empyrean series. It's by Rebecca Yarros. And there's 3 books in that one so far. There's 2 more that are coming in the future,
But what
distant
is the
future.
first one called?
First one is called Fourth Wing. So a lot of people
Fourth
call it
Wing.
by Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I started to help fill a hole in my heart that
A
Fourth
Fourth
Wing left
Wing.
me with was ACOTAR, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. Thorns and Roses is the first one, and that's by Sarah J. Maas. And
And it turns out
she
if you
she
have
has
the
like
unlimited,
13 books. I don't know that I can do them all. I don't know that I can handle that personally, but I'm at
yeah,
least going to
she
make it
says
through these
because
5.
she says, but she's
I
still
need to
gonna have a
like
hole in her heart.
I might. It's
But you can do
from
it
what
while
I've
sewing.
read, from what I've read, it sounds like this one like has a you feel complete when the 5th one is done from what I've understood. Like
Like
everyone's
when
arc ends in
Windows
a good
turns on,
place.
it goes, wah. And
Yeah,
it's
like
just kind of
I don't
that.
know. Like there's a difference between ending a book on a cliffhanger where you're
Hmm.
like, "Oh my God, what is going to happen next?" versus I feel really satisfied about where these characters are. They had a nice arc. They started in one place, ended in a much better place. That we had some good adventure along the way.
Yeah.
Like that, that's a satisfying book. And because the Fourth Wing one is still in the middle and
You did it in
to
the
be
right
written,
order.
I did. I did. I think. I don't know. Stephanie
But,
B is also very big on it. And so if you have realized
well,
that
I
I've been
know.
sending you fewer reels, it's because I've been spending her ridiculous amounts of memes about the series that I'm
Out of the
reading. So
club.
just so you know,
Man, I gotta
you,
get back in this.
you got to catch up on your reading requirements and then you're
I
going to be back
listened
on
to
the
the
real ones.
first chapter. So far, we've killed a wolf and a deer. All right. We're good. Well, and we brought
So
home meat and we know the sisters' names. And
we do.
so far, that's good enough for me. See, I really like a boring book. I don't want to say I like a really boring book. I like a book that has
So
something in the last 100 pages,
I
or I
felt
like
like
a book that you can put down at night.
I felt like the
Unlike these
first
ones that are
one
eating you alive.
was like really boring for the first half, especially with the audiobook, because she just talks so pleasantly and her life sucks so bad. And
It
it's
really
just
is like that.
it's just that's how it is. But then
I
as more things start happening, like the narration style picks up and it gets much better.
was gonna say, because apparently my Kindle is like, you can read this in 7 hours and 37 minutes. And the audio recording is like 15 hours
Yeah.
for the first book. And I'm like, I'm really not that quick of a reader. I like to take in some details and such, but
Yeah.
that audio is really slow. Moo.
New moo at Walmart. Oh, I gotta go. $15 moo.
Hey,
I got home today and I immediately took off my clothes and put on my moo Immediately.
they didn't
Like
have a sticker for that one.
there is no, it's like we have a place for it in my house. It is moo o'clock. And
Moo o'clock.
if I am working from home, I will go to the gym in the morning and then I will come home and I will shower and I will put on my moo and I will not wear appropriate clothing until I have to leave the house to get the children. Like, why? Why do
Moo
I
o'clock.
why do I need to constrain everything with underwire and jeans?
I will
And
give you that one.
why?
Well,
Why do I
it's like
need to
me
do
and my
this?
leggings.
It's me and
I
the
mean,
dogs. What does it matter?
I live for my Thread for Thought leggings that I happen to have at least nine. That's an underestimate. 9 pairs of black, maybe. I have 9 pairs of black Thread for Thought leggings.
That's very
They don't
impressive.
wear out. I've had them for like 8 years and I had them in various sizes because I was various sizes. And I wear a small one day and I wear a large the next day. It doesn't matter. Like, they're all the same. They don't stretch out. They're fantastic if you need a legging. Hi, Felicia. Um,
Hello. I will say I have a lot of Fabletics because I don't know about you. If I'm like I want to get in shape, my very first step is usually to buy something that I think I need to get into shape. And so it's going to be like
that's
a
my
workout
sewing
gear.
problem.
Yeah, it's going to be like a workout gear. It's going to be something, choose something, and then I may never use that damn thing ever.
That's
And
me and
so,
rulers,
yeah,
quilting rulers. I am going to make that. And then I am going to buy the awesome ruler that's going to make this easier. And then the awesome ruler slowly gets set
yes,
further and further and further back. You know where the pattern is? I don't know, but I was going to do it. It was going to be awesome, you know?
yes. Well, and I had a subscription to Fabletics for a while, and at the time I was walking a lot. It was like pandemic time where you're like stuck in the house all the time, and it would just get to a certain point of the day where I'm like, I've worked enough. I'm leaving my house and I'm walking. But I feel like those leggings are like the same too. Like I am easily 30 more pounds, 40 more pounds maybe than I was when I bought them, and they're fine.
Yeah.
But
That's the
they
thing
do a
about
good suck them
leggings.
in. This is like a suck them in
It's like a
situation,
pair of
and it's
pants.
perfect.
A pair of pants holds you to it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you've sinned and you put on a pair of trousers,
Oh
right?
yes. Oh
You
yeah.
also know if you have been a very good girl and you put on a pair of trousers. But leggings, they don't care if you just ate Thanksgiving. They love you for it. They
Yeah.
also don't care if you're on a diet and you don't want to buy all new clothes because it's winter and why would you do such a thing, right? They're like, I'm
I
leggings. I'm here
I
for you
will
no matter
say,
what, like a best friend.
so I am down 15 pounds now. I'm very excited about that.
Woohoo!
But
Part of it was
hey,
norovirus.
and I get to have a colonoscopy on Monday. So
Woohoo!
we're gonna cross our fingers that maybe we can go down another 5 pounds with the prep.
Oh my God, you
Uh,
will.
I
You
feel like
will.
this is the best 40 story I have is like I have to get a colonoscopy and because of gut health issues. And then like, okay, this is the dumbest thing. Everyone is always like when you turn 40, like things start to break for really stupid reasons. And so I've been walking a lot at the gym. There's a track. You go around it 11 times, it's a mile. And you have to go like different days.
11.
Yeah, 11, it's weird, but it's indoor. And
It's like
so
leap year.
I guess. But but you go different directions on different days, and then there's like a little area like on like the curves where there's like it's like not flat.
Mhm.
And I had somehow ended up going like every other day, so I was always going the same direction, and I messed up my butt muscle so bad that
Is
I
this what
could
that was?
yes, I could not sleep on that side. I went for a massage, and normally, like, there's like a problem area they'll work on a little bit and go on it. They spent the whole hour on my butt and my low back from walking on the track. So I injured myself walking, Chantel, walking. And I'm like, this is dumb. I am old
Oh
now.
my
Things are gonna
God.
break for dumb reasons. Oh my goodness. So now I walk on the
That's,
treadmill.
yeah, I was
Is it
gonna
flat?
say, oh my gosh. I think they
Yes.
used to do that for, is it like elevated? Is it an older
Yeah.
location?
I don't know how old it is, but yeah, it's like
I
an
know that they
elevated
used
thing
to
and you
do
go
that
around.
for, it feels good when you're running.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the colonoscopy, man,
That
I have
yeah,
lots to look forward to.
so much. I only have to do it because of gut stuff and my sister has
Oh,
Crohn's,
well,
so
I've already
they
had two colonoscopies,
yeah, they
so,
always assume they're like, "Oh, your sister's Crohn's, you're going to be totally messed up." Like that is like an
you're
assumption that is
broken.
made. Yep, for sure.
Oh no.
Felicia says she's trying to lose weight too, and she has
As
to
aren't we
schedule
all?
colonoscopy. We lose a few pounds from not eating. Yeah, well, I actually, so I've been doing a couple things. I am walking a lot. I've been trying to walk 3 to 4 times a week for an hour. So I'm
That's
usually
impressive.
able to get like 3 miles in if I do that. And then I've added just in the last couple weeks weightlifting as well. So I believe it or not, I used to be a size 4 and very fit and had like the big
Oh,
muscular butt that
nostalgia
we're
walks
joking
in.
about. I know, right? And this was all pre-kids,
Oh,
when
and
I
I
actually had
so
time to do
thought I was
this.
overweight.
I know,
Mm.
I did. I was on Weight Watchers when I was 26 pounds, Chantel. Isn't that the dumbest thing ever? Like, I remember this very clearly, and I'm like, what was wrong with me and my self-esteem that I thought that that was a lot? But I used to run, like, after college, I would go lift all the time, and I would like lift for like
I
30, 40
never ran on
minutes.
purpose.
I would go run for 3, 4 miles, and then I would do abs for like 20 minutes after. And I'm like this used to be my life, and now I'm just trying to get back into that. But we have got people wanting full con because we have talked enough about romanticy
You don't
and
understand. We have not, so we usually
my
have our good,
colonoscopy. We haven't,
we
we don't need to talk about these anymore.
so we usually have our really good like friend conversation beforehand. But somebody really needed to get back to their book.
Somebody
It
needs to know when they're going to finally fall in love and realize it because they won't flip and talk to each other. Anyway,
wow.
full con.
It's like and yes. Oh my gosh. I oh QuoteCon. I'm dragging you along next year. I just want to say not very many people go by themselves, is what I have learned. Apparently, I am an odd bird and I just don't care. Everybody
She'll
else
make a friend.
brings their friend, Oh,
She'll
I
make a
did.
friend.
It was 3 seconds and I made a friend. I was so worried. I was walking to QuoteCon and I call Steph and I'm like, I'm walking there. There's a chance that what if nobody talks to me? What if nobody likes my coach? What if? And she's like, you're not even there yet.
I'm sure you were fine. And I did try to
I
connect.
was fine.
Did you meet Vicky and Carla at all? Did you run into each other?
No.
You have to like plan to meet on purpose
Yeah, oh,
one
I
year.
I I have gained over like 300 followers in the last 3 weeks, mostly because of QuiltCon.
Yeah.
And on Instagram, that's where I live, mostly is on Instagram. And the whole thing was awesome. I don't know what I was so worried about. I ran into people that I online know. It's like a convention of all of these people you've online dated for friendship,
That is the
and you
perfect way to
finally get to
describe
go
it.
to the mixer.
Yes.
right? And it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's very excited about the thing you made or the thing that you're wearing or the fabric that you used that was rare. I mean, you don't go to Walmart and somebody's like, oh my God, that's like Darlings from like 2020 from Ruby Star. That's really rare. I really love that on you. You go to Walmart and they're like, where'd you buy that? You're like, I made it. And they're like, oh, cool. And then, that's the end of that conversation. They're like, did you buy that fabric here? And you're like,
No, definitely not.
no, did not buy that fabric here. So, anyways, the whole experience is just wonderful. If anybody has a chance to go ever, please go. It is the most warm and welcoming and friendly experience. Everybody is in rainbows. They had this year, Ruby Star had a thing going on where they suggested what you should wear each day so that everybody would like match. So the first day was jean jackets or jackets, coats, quilted coats. And then they would have a fashion show every evening to like display your items.
I love seeing the fashion pictures
oh my gosh,
coming out of that.
The fashion was so fun.
They were like
the
quilted
creativity.
gowns. Like
Oh, yeah,
full-on
that
quilted
was
gowns.
that was Saturday. It was, how do you say it? Kafkans?
That sounds right.
Yes, Kafkan, not Afghans, Kafkans. And yeah, see, Carrie Quilts is already. I started working out things to go for next year. Yeah, it's the fashion alone is fun, and it's an opener for any conversation you want. I mean, for me, it was easy to explain that clearly I'm not a foundation paper piecer. I learned a foundation paper piece. I'm an English paper piecer. This is going to be really hard for me for like the rest of eternity now that I know two different types of paper piecing. So I'm going to struggle. But EPP, it was very clear. So I brought my jackets downstairs. I have a picture of my overalls. I have the most adorable picture one day.
Hang on. I'm going to change this so you can share your screen if you like.
Oh, I don't know how to do that, honestly. And you know what I did? I got on my computer and I got overwhelmed by the fact that I can't poke the screen. Apparently I've moved on.
It's not a touch screen.
It's not a touch screen, but my iPad, but anyways, this is let me turn off the thing where it wants to follow me the whole time because it's going to be really annoying if I can figure out how to do it. Let's see, center stage. Let's turn that off. All right. So this is a jacket I made last year. And actually, Stephanie, you've seen this before.
I've seen that one. You took it on the cruise,
yeah,
I think.
I did take it on the cruise. So on the front, I have all my little pins and everything. I should have brought a hanger.
I was gonna say you brought more swag back. It looks like.
I got more stuff on the front, and then on the back I have random EPP blocks that I make a lot of these, and I just love making little flowers because it makes me feel like I've done something. But these just happen to all be tulip flowers, and I appliqued them on there with no idea how to applique, but I figured it out. And then I did the collar and everything. This is a big hit. And the little sleeves and everything like that. So, and these are what I made. So at QuiltCon, you have to know that it's like going to a Taylor Swift concert. Like everybody shares swag. I still have swag and cards and things like that in all my pockets. So everybody shares things if they can. And if they don't know to share things, it doesn't matter. Everybody's like really slap happy to be at this quilt show. Mm-hmm. So this year I shared buttons. So I made all those fabric buttons that I was showing you a couple weeks ago.
On the last slide, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so some of these are actually made by a friend now, I should say. I have been internet friends with her, but it's official. And we have met. And it was so funny because she sent me a picture and she's like, I'm making buttons too. I think we were the only two people that came up with the idea, but those are buttons that she made, and I shared those with everybody. I went over through over 100 buttons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I told you you'd make friends. See,
See, I know, I
you're
did.
good.
I did fine.
You're good.
And then I made this jacket kind of last minute because I didn't feel like packing. So the back section
This is
there,
one of
and I
your
showed
procrastination projects.
a procrastination project that turned out quite good, if I might
It
say.
is.
I have,
I love that typewriter with like is that, it's not, what is the jean jacket print on there? It looks like it's like
it's
bleach
just
dyed or
like
sun
it's
dyed.
kind of like a bleach dyed herringbone,
That's really cool.
but kind of a diamond herringbone. I got this on ThreadUp, and it
I
was
love
brand new with
ThreadUp.
tags.
Love ThreadUp.
So yeah, and it actually ended up being a good fit, and I loved that it was a little bit different. And then I added an ice cream soda EPP block on the
Very
back,
cool.
and more of my pins or whatever that I traded with everybody. And I'm sure the pockets still have swag in it. I can feel it. So I don't know, maybe you guys can actually scan this on there, but these are my social media cards. So that's a picture of a quilt that I had done. And then it says, "Hey, weirdo, want to be friends?" And it has a QR code that you can scan and go instantly to my Instagram. And so I was handing these out like candy. And you meet so many people, and sometimes it's quick.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I have a whole bunch of these that I was handing out and everything. And the fashion was so fun. I don't have my overalls down here, but oh, I have another procrastination project that I worked on, and I think you'll be proud of this. I think this one needs to be patterned out. I made a bag for my travel ruler and my travel cutting board.
It's really cute.
Yeah, so it has a
How
thick.
much of that binding do you have? Because I feel like I've seen you use that before.
Oh, I bought that binding last year at QuiltCon, and it's a bias binding that you can
Stripe.
buy in a huge roll,
Mm-hmm.
and they've already made it. Plus, I have a
Well,
thing for stripes,
that's awesome.
black and white stripes. Yeah, I know, right? So,
That's
so it's all vinyl on the front except for the bottom, so that you don't have your rulers sticking through that vinyl and making holes and things like that. There's no interior seams. There is, some handiwork on here, but if you really wanted to, you could finish it off with a machine. And then a handle and some snaps. Boom.
that was
And people
clever.
are like, "Where did you get that? That's amazing. What is the pattern?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I made that. That is mine."
You
They're
know,
like,
have
"We
your
want the
first pattern to
pattern."
write.
I know, right? Well, I got a million patterns to write in my head, but
I know
none
the
of them
feeling.
are actually out on paper. It's just inspiring too to see the quilts themselves. It's it's not your granny's quilt show, as they say. It
No.
is um the things you're not going to see are a lot of frilly quilting, and a lot of quilts stand on their own and have matchstick style quilting to them,
Mm-hmm.
or they have quilting that might represent movement or things like that, but it's not your standard quilting that's going to have, your feathers and your ribbon candies and things like that. Um, the quilts themselves really are art. A
They
certain
are.
amount of them are not meant to be used ever. Um, but they're also not meant to be heirloom per se. They're like wall quilts and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, which is really awesome. I took a number of classes and I learned some really awesome things. So on every week, what do you call that you make? The icon that has our pictures on it.
Oh,
It has
the
like a
thumbnail?
thumbnail behind it.
What, Photor? The software I use?
No, no, it's just the fact that it has like a thumbnail behind it. Is that what you call it? Our
Like,
thumbnail?
it's just like a background, but yeah,
Yeah, whatever that
the
thing
YouTube
is that
thumbnail.
you make it.
Yes.
Yes, the YouTube thumbnail. So she used something that I had made in a class. So I am not very versed in applique, and I don't think a lot of modern quilters are. It kind of needs to come back though. Everybody needs to bring applique back because if you're trying to do curved piecing, I'll tell you maybe applique is the way to go. So I made this guy here. Well, not guy, I should say, this girl,
Rita.
this lady. It's Frida Kahlo.
So did you do that with there's so many different styles of applique. Which one did you use for that?
This is a raw edge applique
Okay.
where you
Was it raw edge with
I don't
freezer
want to
paper?
give too many, there was no freezer paper involved,
Okay.
but you literally took your image or whatever and pinned it on to your fabric that was already fused.
Mm-hmm.
And then, did your trimming around and your placing and your ironing. It wasn't necessarily complicated or new or even a unique way to do it. But it was nice to go to a class where they're giving you tips on how to get those small angles of cutting and how to get accuracy and how to not worry so much because it ends up working out. It's a very forgiving way of doing quilting. So this was a no-sew workshop. I need to go through. I got something on her. If anybody has any good ideas on how to get something out of this fabric here, but I'm really proud of her. She turned out really
gorgeous.
cool. And then we kind of went through how to be able to make our own images. So he provided images. It's just Heat and Bond, by the way.
Yeah,
that we
I
use.
love Heat and Bond for applique.
I've used Steam a Seam 2 more often than not because it's great for being able to stick something on there like a sticker and really get an idea if it's going to work. Where's my phone? There it is. So he showed us a little bit on how to make your own photos. And so I started working on things, and normally I would bring this up on, like share my page or whatever. But I started working on John David.
Oh, that's really cool.
Getting him in. So basically you get it in black and white and you play with the levels until you have a good idea of where you would have a positive or a negative piece of fabric. So that's my son, JD. He doesn't go by John David anymore. That's too formal and too long for spelling, apparently. So I started with a simple image of him in the kitchen and kind of went from there. And then he took this terrible picture of me. Y'all are lucky you get to see this crazy picture. This is what I look like in the morning. I don't look near as adorable as I looked at QuiltCon.
My child was taking photos of me at the eyeglass studio, and that was
Lord,
equally as flattering, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to work through the family now and try to get them all in silhouettes.
That would be really cool.
I figure that would be fun.
That would be a really cool like family portrait.
Exactly. So I thought I'd figure out how to kind of work through each person. I got this picture of John David this morning, which I'm allowed to call him John David. I'm his mom, right? Like I get to do that, even though he says I don't.
So my mother was insistent that nobody called me Steph. And God forbid I get called Steffi. So
Steph.
I've always been Stephanie. And I don't care now. Sometimes people call me Steph or whatever. It doesn't bother me. But I was kind of the same way with Angela and her name. And I coached Lego League for my daughter's age group at the school. And one of the kids goes, Angie. And she goes, don't call me that. And I'm like, I did
Don't
it.
call me that.
I did it. Her name is not Angie. It is not.
Well, I have a daughter named Penelope, but her name's Penelope because John and I disagreed on what to name her. Do you know this story?
I do not know that story. But I wanted Angela to be Angelina and Lily to be Liliana. And so I understand that sometimes we have to make compromises.
Oh, we didn't agree.
But go on.
Apparently, Penny is not a name, John says. Penny is not a name. You can't name her Penny. Why not? Because Penny's not a name, it's a nickname. Penelope's a name. So we fought and fought and fought about this. And finally, I'm like, fine, we'll call her Penelope, but I'm not calling her Penelope. So you'll hear it in our house. John calls her Penelope, and I call her Penny. And we do not
That's
call her
funny.
the same name, like ever.
Does she answer
We,
both?
yes.
Well,
But
that's
she
good.
says, I Penny. And I'm like, you are Penny. That's right. You are Penny.
Mom won.
So
Mom won.
mom won. Whereas there's Hazel who won't even let me call her by the nickname Hazy. She's like, that's not my name. I'm like, come on, I'm your mom. I get to call you, but nothing gets you ready for the transition from mommy to mom to bra, which
Yeah,
my son,
I've gotten that lately, and I'm like,
bra, bra.
no.
And I'm like,
I at least get bro,
no,
not
no,
the
I
bra.
get bra.
I'm getting bro, and I'm like, come on now.
Oh, it
I know I'm old,
hurts.
but
It hurts.
uh, Jan
Jan
says
says
she's
she
a
has a
friend named
friend.
Penny. So
Yeah,
screenshot that, show it to John
I
later.
know. Well, I can't win now. It's on the but she says her name is Penny, but we all have this disagreement in
That's
the
funny.
house of like what her name is. And where I mean, I don't know how to pronounce my name. You know how many times people are like, how do you prefer your name be pronounced? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how it's pronounced. Chantal, Chantel, whatever. Whatever you say it is, it is.
You'll
As long
answer.
as it's not Shantae, I'm good because that's not my name. That's all I know. But the rest of them are my name.
So whenever I try to tell Siri to call people within my husband's side of the family, they're like, calling Adam Soebbing. And the kids get
So
really mad
webbing.
about it. They get really mad that the computer can't pronounce the
Oh,
name right.
that's
I'm just
because they
like,
didn't have a last name like Di Pasquale,
oh,
which
that
wants to
wouldn't
be
have
T
gone well
Pasquale
either.
Soebbing
Oh my
when it
gosh, yeah.
calls you.
That's not even the way it's supposed to be pronounced. It's supposed to be De Pasquale or something like that, but I can't do the Italian accent. But oh well, it's fine.
Hey, fair.
But
So, bra
bro,
is Hawaiian, I think.
well, no, it's slang
No, it's
now.
short. It's like slang for bro,
Yeah.
which brosif, bro, brother.
Have you gotten
Anyways,
Riz and Skibbity and
oh, and
that
Sigma.
kind of stuff? Yeah, Sigma.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
My
yeah.
sister teaches math at a Christian high school.
Oh,
And she was saying, one of her kids was saying something, and I won't repeat it here because it requires an Urban Dictionary search. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. She goes, you haven't been reading enough smut yet. And I'm like, oh, and you have. You teach at a Christian high school and you
no.
know what this is. But apparently the kids were quite shocked that
Urban Dictionary
she
was
knew what
made
they were
for our
saying.
generation, all right? And now they're coming
Ah,
up with things that we don't understand. So it doesn't
I
seem
know.
fair. I
It's
still have
hilarious.
about like a million things to cover on QuiltCon. So we're
Yes.
always going to be like behind on this, but we love a good tangent. It's
We
what we
do love a
do.
good tangent. But
Yay! We were able
all
to
right.
scan, I saw. So,
So what other class you took some cool classes.
I did. So the winner of QuiltCon was a quilt called Dignity by Veruska. I can't pronounce her last name. And she was my next class that I took, which was pretty cool. Like you're taking the class from the person who literally won QuiltCon and she deserved it. Her quilt was front and back. I don't have a picture of it, but you can, I mean, if you haven't been spammed with images of her Dignity quilt yet, um, please look it up. Just type in Dignity Quilt or QuiltCon winners and it'll come up. It is gorgeous. And so she is a foundation paper piecer and she does more like large scale foundation paper piecing. So foundation paper piecing is one of those skills that I felt like and excuse my French, is one of these like fuck around and find out type. It's a skill that
Hmm.
you figure out by swearing a lot
Yeah,
while you do
that's
it.
accurate. Because if you mess it up, like there's not
You
really starting over,
and
depending
there's
on how
tiny
badly
little
you screwed up.
stitches
Yes.
and the whole like being able to think in how it's going to fold out. Um, it's it's something that I knew that I could figure out, but I thought I could save the swear jar a few dollars and use those
If you took the
dollars
class.
instead and take the class. So, and I've seen the benefit of like what you can do with foundation paper piecing, where not having to cut accurately, in general, just being able to cut large swaths of fabric and then get these very precise designs. Love that. Um, I don't love
So
foundation paper piecing when the little ones are visiting. Carrie says,
I
I always have little ones visiting.
I I have actually written out a couple of foundation paper pacing patterns, and I took my first class from Carol Doak. My guild was fortunate enough to bring her in, and she's like the
Which
queen
is
of
the
paper
original
pacing.
queen.
She is the original queen, yes. And
You can buy her paper.
you can. It's very good paper um for that. But the biggest thing of it is the pieces, instead of going up a half an inch like you would for
Mm-hmm.
traditional, they're going to be 3/4 of an inch larger on all sides
Mm-hmm.
um, than the piece that you're dealing with, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room. But it also, if you line something up not quite right, you either are picking a lot and then you have to tape the
Yes.
seam down, or your paper's going
I'm
to
going to
fall
grab my
apart.
project. Here we go.
Um,
So
because once you pick that seam out, like you've already sewn through that paper, you perforated it, it's a tear. And so you either are starting over or you are like very carefully picking, trying not to rip too much, putting
try
tape
not to
back
rip the
down.
paper off of it.
And there's like special tape that they recommend for it that's easier to sew through and reposition. And it's cool. The results you can get from paper piecing in terms of angles and really great precision. That's why I really loved it. I haven't done it in a long time, but
This is what
it's
I'm
it's so
making.
fun.
It's a portrait. It's about 28 by 28, I believe she said.
Hmm.
And it, so, quite large. But at the same time, you get down to some of these pieces and these curves. Those are tiny little pieces, like tiny. You wouldn't normally sew them. The seam allowance is bigger than the actual piece that ends up showing. And
Yeah.
look what I made. I made a whole section
That's so cool.
and I got all my little things together here. I was so flippin' proud because I was starting to get the actual feel for it. And
Yeah.
then I sat down today and annihilated a piece of paper. But I took copies beforehand because I know who I am. I know I'm going to mess it up.
It happens. It happens for
Yes.
sure.
So
Paper
I love the
piecing,
foundation paper piece.
like I've done king size quilts in paper piecing. And like I did my
Yes, you
sister's
have.
entire wedding quilt in paper piecing and lots of others. And the thing that even though I'd done it so many times, and even when I was doing it really frequently, every time I would sit down, I would have to like remember what are my
Hmm.
steps
That,
because
so
it's
I
like sewing
started.
backwards. It's like
Yes.
sewing by number instead of because you're not even looking at the fabric when you're sewing, you're looking at the paper. And so it's
Mm-mm.
a weird thing to get used to, and
And it's
you
like
have
you're
to
sewing in a
think through it.
mirror too,
Yeah,
because you're sewing backwards, but it's almost like mirrored and backwards because you're thinking about how it's going to fold out in the end.
yeah.
Um,
Once
it's
once
wild.
you get going again, it's fine. You can fly. But
Hmm.
those first couple of thoughts of how am I doing this again?
Hmm.
Like that just takes a second. Do you have an add a quarter
Well,
ruler or an add an eighth ruler
yes,
for
and
some
I
of those little
have
ones?
two of them
Perfect.
now because I had the short one and the long one. I went ahead and bought the long one because I kind of figured out. But the other thing about foundation paper piecing is that if you're not exactly a quarter inch on those and you decide to trim it with a pair of scissors, you're really not. you're really not in a bad place. You're
Yeah.
just being a little naughty. Just not a lot of naughty. It's not like when you go ahead and not use a 1/4 inch seam on something that really needs it. It doesn't create that level of a problem. So anyways, me and an opportunity to buy a ruler, I'm there. So
I
add a
it's all
quarter.
good. You get the rulers, I get the fitness apparel. It's all good.
I mean, yeah, this is my fitness, though. I mean, I don't exercise on purpose. Like, not my thing.
I am
So, anyways,
just
this is what it's going to be. So this is the section I finished over here. And I finished the road and a couple other pieces here. And you can see it gets into the AAs, ABs, ACs, and things like that.
that's a lot
Um,
of tiny pieces.
extremely talented. Let's see if it says on here. Pride and Joy Quilting. So that's who you want to look up if you're interested in doing any of those. Pride and Joy Quilting. And she was just a doll. She was phenomenal. And she was very funny because she's like, when you're starting, you just want those pieces to be basically as big as you can and you'll cut them down. She's like, does it cover the spot? And does it cover it abundantly so? And she just kept on saying that. And it was like, that's my motto from now on. I'm just going to do everything abundantly so.
Some people
Abundantly so.
have problems with it because there is much more fabric waste when you're doing it that way. Um,
But you know what's
and
a
then
waste? Picking things
true.
apart because you didn't make it big enough.
Well, and also the other thing is sometimes you can get really scrap happy with that stuff because you're like, That's big enough. I can use that on like a little paper piece thing someday."
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
you do.
like I know my neighbor does a lot of it. She's a big Carol Doak fan. And she has lots of small pieces that she
Oh,
could
yes, I
potentially
can
use for
totally
things.
see how that could
Yes.
happen. I do want to share too how she organizes her fabrics. So remember, I don't know, 3 or so weeks ago, I had that makeshift wall that I had made my quilt wall. And
Yes.
it's made of a photo, like you put your photo backdrop on it
Yeah.
if you're going to have like a wedding, or you're getting your portraits taken at school, and they hang the photo backdrop on this big stand or whatever, and then you take your picture in front of it. So that's what
Mhm.
this thing is, and you can buy them for like $30 to $40 on Amazon. And they're adjustable in size. So I bought one of those, hung up all of my batting, and used it as a temporary quilt wall. And it worked really well. Um, Especially once I got it nice and taut on there.
Mhm.
But what she does is she does a very similar thing for her fabric. She takes that device, or in her case, she uses a rolling hanger for like clothing, which is the same idea. Like what do you call that? Like a wardrobe, like a rolling
Like a garment
wardrobe,
rack. A
a
garment
garment
rack.
rack. Thank you.
Yeah.
Their simple words are hard. So she
It is
has a
late. It's
garment rack.
10:30.
I know. It's fine. And she takes her fabric in order of what it is, and she clips it her yardage all the way across in order, and has the numbers or whatever letters or whatever she uses to delineate her colors on the top of this rack. And then when she needs fabric, she goes over to it, clips the bottom, rips off what she needs, and uses it.
Rips it off. That right there is enough to make the quilt police's toes curl.
Oh, and you know
But
what though?
I'm
It
glad it works for her.
worked.
Yeah.
It's so she would just snip and rip, and she makes sure she's very good about making sure her stuff is on the grain if it
Hmm.
needs to be. But there are pieces where you're like, I'm just trying to do a little triangle in here. It doesn't matter. But she's
Hmm.
like, my fabric is always on the grain because I'm hanging it. I'm not cutting weird sections off of a big piece. She can get to it easy. I thought that was like the coolest tip ever, that,
Yeah.
so she doesn't have all this fabric just kind of all over the place. She just goes over and snips and rips off what she needs, trims it up if she needs to, trims off
She
what she needs.
probably doesn't even have to fold that much or iron that much.
No. and she's a heavy starcher, like heavier than I am. She
Is
soaks her
that possible?
items. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yes. That is
She
serious.
soaks and lets dry. So I learned my starching method from her, and she no longer uses that because she now starches by
Even
soaking.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, she soaks,
That's
lets it
very
soak
intense.
in, like basically 100%. Lets it soak in. She uses, well, Stayflow is no longer a thing. So she uses a type that you can get on Amazon that they use for like laundry services, that they
Hmm.
use for basically like collars and things like that when they starch. Um, I think it's like 16 bucks. I can't remember what it is called, but it's probably on her website, Pride and Joy quilting. And so she heavily starches to make sure that she's not getting a lot of bend because she makes these humongous quilts,
Hmm.
humongous this way. And yeah, she was very impressive, but also super accessible and lovely. I think anybody who met her was just happier when they had met her.
That's exciting.
So yeah. Oh, Carrie Coates says, I don't let the quilt police get in
In my
my
door.
door. I rip fabric all the time. Well,
I got like rip shamed. I won't say where. I
rip
was
shames.
I did. I went to one of my local shops and I was buying backing fabric. And I was like, "Hey, are you gonna rip it?" She's like, "I don't rip fabric." And I'm like, "Can you rip mine?" She's like, I will for you." And I was just like, because when it's a backing fabric, like that can get really off from like A to B
Oh
when it
yeah.
gets wrapped all around. I'm like, I need that wrapped. I need that. I sorry, I have to have it. She's like, but it weighs
Like,
like it's all funny on like 2 inches on either side. I'm like, I don't care. You need like 4 5 inches on all sides anyway for your backing. I'm not going to use that. It's fine.
yeah.
Like,
So the reason that you rip, in case you don't know, is that it rips on the grain and it makes sure that you're straight.
yeah.
Um,
Well, because fabric, it's all woven together, a warp and a weft. And so
yeah.
when you rip, it's only going to rip right along a thread and it'll go
Hmm.
straight across. And that actually, the first time I was taught to quilt, they didn't use a rotary cutter. They were ripping strips, which I
But
wouldn't
you
do
do
that.
have to kind of like, if you're a company that rips your fabric, you almost have to measure a little extra and then rip so that you're usable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, no,
is
the first
definitely what you
person,
get.
like if you this person who showed me, like for my very first lesson,
Hmm.
if you wanted a 2.5 inch strip, she measured over 2.5 inches and ripped. And I don't do that anymore,
That
obviously.
hurts a little.
But but that was I think that may have been like a way that it was done at some point before the rotary cutter.
Well, it had to
But
be. I mean, I have books that are like
Carrie
pre-rotary
Quilt
cutter.
says she rips borders for that reason too.
Yes. I watched a tutorial on Susie Quilts where she has this one log cabin pattern that is like a full scale, like the whole thing ends up being the whole block ends up being large strips. And she's like, you have to get that on grain or you start getting really wonky
Yeah.
lines. Um, and so she goes into a really great tutorial about ripping fabric and things like that. And fabric's malleable. I mean,
Yeah.
you can steam it back into place. Don't worry. It'll
You
go
can for
back.
sure.
I mean, if
For
you can make
sure.
puff sleeves, you can do anything.
Oh my goodness.
God, it's true. So,
Angela
anyways,
has been reading Hunger Games,
oh, let me
and
grab my other drink, but I'm gonna walk away,
she
but I'll
was
be right
talking
here.
about, she goes to me today. She goes, "Mom, what's nudist?" And I'm like, "Where did you
Oh,
learn that word?" She goes, she goes, "Well, Katniss says she hopes her stylist isn't a nudist." And I was just like taking me back to all the crazy outfits in Hunger Games. And I was like, "Oh." And then I like had to explain what it
that
was. And I
was a
was like,
great movie for fashion.
but I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, it's a little too old for her in terms of the content, but in terms of the reading level, it's right on. And she's like as obsessed with these books as I am with mine. And so I'm just like, it's
Hey, if
violence, but you
nudist
like
is the
it.
worst word you get to teach her out of this,
Well,
you
there is
done
that.
well.
I know. And then Lily goes, "What's biased?" And I'm like, "Where'd you learn that word?"
Oh my gosh.
So then I had to explain in 5-year-old terms what bias meant. So it was interesting.
Hmm.
But
I don't, yeah,
I
that's
told her
amazing.
that because she likes pink and purple, that if I showed her a pink shirt and a green shirt, she would be biased to like the pink shirt because she already likes pink. And so that's how I explained
Right.
it.
It would be hard for her to, see the other one
Aggress.
as an equal
Yes.
option.
That was the simplest way I could describe it for her. But
I feel like a dictionary all the time.
they ask you questions like you know the answers to all the questions of the universe. And
They
I
do.
often am
They
like,
think I'm
you know
Alexa.
what? Google would know this more than I would, honey, I think. You can look it
Well,
up.
Hazel has this rash on her hands, and um dad told her, it's a contact dermatitis. Like you had a reaction to the oil pastels that were at school after they kind of talked through it. And Hazel didn't want to believe him. So she goes to me and she's like, I need you to Google this. And I said, well, dad's going to know. Like he went to medical school. And she's like, no, I want you to Google this. Like, I don't, believe it. And I'm trying to explain to her that although Google is full of information that may be helpful, no medical advice is going to be quite as sound as real medical advice given to you by your father about a simple rash.
Dr.
You know,
Google is only going to terrify you.
it's
It
only
is
going to give
not
you
going to be
pictures that you
helpful.
did not want to see.
It's not going to be helpful.
She's like, no, I need you to Google it. And I'm like, you have like the best resource, farting in your kitchen. Like the man may not seem like the one that's going to know it all for this, but I swear to you, he's the one that's going to know that your simple rash on your hand is not, in fact, some disease from the Congo or something like that. Like, you're going to live, you're going to be fine. She wanted me
That's
to
funny.
Google it so bad. She did not trust his advice. She...
Oh, goodness.
So I guess I can go on to I took a lot of classes.
You did.
I, well,
You had one from
I
Jen
want to
Kingwell,
know.
the great Jen Kingwell. But go ahead. Sorry,
I
I cut you
did.
off.
She was my last class. And probably I want to, as politely as I can, but probably the class that I learned the least in because I'm already I use a lot of hand sewing techniques anyways. But
Hmm.
it was like oh my gosh, she told me I did really well and that I already had a good handle on it. And you're like, thank you so much.
Isn't that
Like,
exciting when that happens?
it was really exciting. So the next class I took the next day after learning how to foundation paper piece was a class on how to make my own patterns in foundation paper piecing. Sometimes I don't think things through.
So no,
At least it was in that order.
we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and she was like, I forget exactly how you said it, but like, maybe it's a little too early. And I was like, do you have any idea how many things I did when I probably shouldn't have been doing it yet? And it turned out just fine.
It
So
turned out fine.
it's not fine. It's just fabric.
So it's just fabric. Well, and mostly this was just paper to begin with. So I made a lemon. Look, my
Oh, that's
foundation
really
paper
cool.
piece lemon. And we talked about how to segment things and in order and things like that. Um, it was a half sewing class, half workshop type class where you're working with paper and things like that. And a lot of people went on in the second half to try to sew something. Well, we were given a few options of things that we could pattern and then later sew. And I'm not gonna lie, the options were not made for me. They were all like kind of plant based. And you know how I kill plants. And
It's
I didn't
okay.
want to emotionally kill my plant, but I did pattern out this
That is a
lovely
lovely
aloe.
looking. Yeah, I was
or
thinking about,
something,
oh, it was succulent.
or an agave or something. Chat GPT thought it was an agave, I asked. But
Speaking
I
of
did go
sentient
through and
technology.
pattern the whole thing. I definitely understood the concept. So for the second half, we were given the option of like making this, which the day before I had learned how to foundation paper piece. Like it was still very fresh in my head, like what to do. But what wasn't fresh in my head is the ordering of things and making sure that you've considered that the piece prior has been completely taken care of
Yeah,
before you're done.
that is
So
the hard
I
part of
so
paper
I
piecing.
kept going on my drawing. And so I did love for a while. And I did fine until I got to the O. And then I forgot that, um, I have a centerpiece that's already there. I tried to make this like weird, like rotating center thing going on here. It's not how you do it. Don't worry, it only took me, you can kind of see it there. Like I started drawing this like vortex thing on the inside. It was like, dude, you have a piece of fabric there. It's your
So
number one.
what program are you using to do it on the computer? Because obviously you've done that too.
Yes. So I started messing on the computer. On my flight home, I have an image. I started making a real pattern because it's like, I'm not going to let this get lost. I hate when I've learned information and I let it disappear. So let me get to the image there. I started doing a mid-century modern home.
She was sending me these
Yes.
as potential
So I
quilt
want to make a little
possibilities.
Palm Springs or whatever. This is not lettered and numbered. It makes sense to me. It does not make sense to anybody else. If you tried to make this, you'd be like, wait, one to what? One to two of this or of that. But I used Procreate for this. And yeah, by the time I got off on the flight and off the flight, I had made that in Procreate. I have to
Very
admit,
cool.
I don't want to use Procreate to be my program
Some people
at
really
all.
love that. Um, I
I
don't know. Whenever
downloaded
I've done
CAD
it, I've used more linear stuff,
Illustrator.
not like pictorial. Yeah, Illustrator a lot.
Well, I basically had to make I I had an image and I basically had to break it down into line drawing
Yeah.
and then break that down into foundation paper piecing.
So
So,
did your graphic design help with that, or were you in graphic design school before everything switched over to like
no,
Adobe
so
Creative
when
Suite?
I was in design school, a lot of what I did was in Illustrator and mostly Photoshop at the time, but all of my drafting experience is by hand or in CAD. So
Hmm.
I there was a Groupon. Are Groupons still a thing? They are
I don't know.
indeed. They are. I can guarantee you because I was trying to get a copy of CAD. So I own a copy of CAD like 2007 on a computer that is not support. I mean, I think it's on Windows 7,
Oh
clearly
goodness.
not supported anymore,
Yes.
right? Well, you know how all of programs you guys would relate to Windows, or not Windows, Microsoft Office now being an annual subscription, right?
Yeah. That's how Adobe
Illustrator and
Creative Suite is
Photoshop and
too. Yeah.
Adobe all went to an annual subscription. I used to own copies of these programs. And so CAD, AutoCAD, so computer aided drafting as used by engineers and architects and interior designers like myself. So that program is in my brain. I still have dreams where I'm CADing and like doing the
Making
thing and
things
I
look
have
the
my
way you want them
mouse
to.
and
Yeah.
I can still,
It's
I can think
probably
through it.
like for
I
me,
know I can eat a pattern alive if I had CAD.
that's how I am with Adobe because those are the products that I used as newspaper design.
Mm-hmm.
And then later in when I was overseeing things in
Yeah.
marketing. So that's it's just what you know. And
It's
sometimes you
in
don't
you.
need to, sometimes it's not like this is like the preferred thing. It's just this is what makes sense to me and I can make it work.
Right.
Felicia, it's called Procreate. It's all one word. It's used a lot by artists who want to
It's
create
free.
on an iPad. Yeah.
It's free. I use it a lot for practicing my free motion quilting, for doing practice quilting on, well, and I practice I doodle a lot. If I'm
Yeah.
not chalking my front driveway in quilting patterns, I'm drawing on my iPad on Procreate. And what was that one time you came over and you're like, this isn't the kids' chalk work, is it?
Clearly it was not. I did that. I did like a graffiti quilting thing when Lily wanted to color the other day. And so every single, I would do like a pass of something, then I would change to a different color crayon and I would do some different design and just have it like spill out. She thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it's just like my quilting doodles.
Well, yeah, at least she thinks it's the coolest thing ever. My kids just think this is completely normal and like I'm like, look what I made. And they're like, yeah, cool. You're like, I'm trying to impress you. Like, can I be the cool mom now or no? But
Someday.
there
Someday
was a
I want my
Groupon.
kids to see my
Oh
record
yeah,
collection and be like, Mom has
my mom
gangster
was
rap.
cool.
Like that's
Yeah,
what I want
right.
them to be like someday. But anyway, back to your Groupon.
That collection's going in the nursing home with us. I want to be very clear about that.
Yes, I've been
Um,
collecting all the songs of our youth. So someday we're gonna have it all. Spice
I'm just
Girls,
gonna have to get some
TLC,
Baby No Money,
Gangsta
unfortunately,
Rap.
for everybody.
You're gonna have to do that for sure. I got
Yeah,
them all.
because I did go to that concert too.
I have Britney Spears' entire collection of the whole
In
thing.
vinyl.
Yes, in vinyl.
Yes.
Oh goodness.
We should do some tradesies, some
Oh no.
borrowing.
I am borrowing, yes. I am attached to all my records.
No, not permanent tradesies. We're
Yes.
like library loaning here and only
We
to
can
the
do
best
that
of
for sure.
friends.
For sure.
All right. I have a lot of vintage vinyl,
Same.
but I uh I worked in CAD. Like I took between drafting and CAD, I took over 2.5 years of courses in basically CAD and drafting. So I know CAD in my sleep. And so I was like, I need to get CAD somehow. Well, I looked up CAD and a Groupon came up.
I can't
And I
believe
was
the
like,
Groupon still exists. I'm just gonna say.
still exists. I designed their office space. I was part of the team that I chose all their materials. I chose their carpet that they walk on.
That's
I was
insane.
part of that architectural team. All right. So they better exist and all that carpet better be there because that was really, really good. Okay. And that was a long time ago though. Maybe they need some new carpet by now. But yeah, I found a Groupon for CAD and I was like, I just need CAD Light. It's over $500 a year for CAD Light, which is the non 3D version. It misses some of the marks of the things that I know how to do, but for most of what I'm able to do, it's going to be able to do what I want it to do. Measure accurate lines and radiuses,
Yeah.
you know, to exact scale as I want and plot it out. And so I found this Groupon, and basically it was a Groupon for an educational license for like, I don't know, it ended up being like $100 or something for
That's
the
not
year.
bad.
So I was like, I had a coupon because I haven't used Groupon for so long. They're like, hey, welcome back to Groupon. Here's like $20 off. This whole thing just yells
You did good.
shady. Just yells shady. Like, I don't suggest this for anybody. All right. Like,
But it
it
worked out.
works. It works. I have CAD on my Mac, and when I plot, it's going to say as an educational product around the outside because I used an educational product for almost the entire time I was in school until I had an outside job that gave me a license to CAD.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I got my shady over the internet version of CAD for like $100. And that is how I am going to make foundation paper piecing from now on, because it is going to be so much easier for me to draw lines. And it's
Yeah.
just the process in
The
Procreate
the technology
is
barrier sometimes is too much, you know? Like
mhm.
you have to learn a whole new thing if you're going to do some simple thing. Which is why,
I
honestly,
love,
why I
yeah,
never wanted to get into fabric design because I would not only have to come up with a concept, but then I would
I
have to
got you.
know how to do all the layers. And, you know, if you're
Yeah,
doing
that's true.
anything other than simple color, I mean, it's intense. It really intense.
It is a master class in being able to use Illustrator or Procreate or
Yeah,
Photoshop or whatever program you choose to use for that. Yeah, definitely a master class in being able to use those things. And that's why we use what we're comfortable with. But Felicia, Procreate is a great starter program and it goes beyond starter. So aren't you doing a thing with Skillshare now? You're going to be doing a thing with Skillshare possibly?
I do. I need to do another video for them actually. Some to do.
So
Need
I'm
to,
a
need to
Skillshare
stop
user.
reading. I need to stop reading Fairy Smut and do more videos. That's what I need to do.
Less fairy smut, more actual real life work. I get it.
Yes.
The point is not if you've done your work or not. The point is that I use Skillshare to learn how to use these things. They have full classes on how to use things like Procreate or Illustrator and how to use them in the ways that you want to use them. Like Illustrator is used in many different ways
It is. And the way that it's
by
used in the
many
quilting
different people.
industry is like for pattern design, so different than like probably anything
Fabric
else.
design.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fabric design is a whole different animal than using it for, yeah. I mean, and the way I always use Illustrator was more as the in between Photoshop and InDesign.
Like here, let me grab
It was
something.
like the page layout that I would end up pulling into InDesign for like portfolios.
So
Oh, I know what Stephanie's working on.
I'm working on my ornaments for my ornament collection. So this fabric here um was part of the collection that I did collaborative with QT Fabrics. I came up with the direction and what I wanted and colors, and then they did the actual artwork, and it was very collaborative. It was a lot of back and forth. Like I had really specific sizes for like, I wanted this to be very mid-century modern, and I took lots of pictures of things that were around my house to like get a feel of it. And there were many variations of this owl before I was like, yes, this is what I envision.
Hmm.
But one of the things that was sent over is this fabric here was modeled after a piece in my dining room that I had chalk painted. And so there are so many layers, Photoshop layers in here that are different colors. And we did it in two different colors. There's the teal and the black. Um, and we
But it's
talked
never two
about,
different colors. Like if you look at the
no, it's not.
selvage of your fabric, you see
Like
all
this
those
is
dots of
so
colors.
many different colors in here.
Wonder if
And
I
we
have an
had talked
example.
about maybe doing it as a blender because we thought it would work really well with bags,
Hmm.
for like bag bottoms and stuff. But they had done an upgrade on where they store files, and basically all the layered files were purged in
Lost.
the upgrade. And so the idea of recreating this is just impossible. Like it's
So
almost
I was
impossible.
just going to say, like at the bottom of your selvage, you're going to see things like this, right? And what this is a sampling of the colors that are in this particular fabric.
Yeah, and that
So
looks like just a
this
really
fabric,
simple
I
strawberry.
if I looked at this, I would say this has four colors in it. It has eight.
Yeah.
And all of these are on different layers so that they can go in and make different color variations of this very same fabric. So this just happens to be a good example. I have a red version right here. Well, they took the layers and changed up the colors. This happens to have a selvage on it too. It's my lucky day. Although this one does not have, it's not long enough to have the numbers on it. But if it did, you would see that they have changed up what the colors are in there. I have multiples of these right here because I am supposed to be making a quilt for my daughter. The thing about fat quarters is that you don't always get that on
No, you
there.
don't.
But
One of
those
the things,
layers, yeah.
yeah. So when they do traditional rotary screen printing, they make different screens for every color. And so if you have, I think you can have up to 18 screens in a
I think
print.
so.
So like for Tula, her like hero
She'll use
print of the
18.
collection is going to be 18. And you're going to see it in at least three colorways because the expensive part is creating those screens. So for each color, there's a different screen and that's laid down perfectly so that the color always is matched in the right spot. So to create 18 different colors, they're creating 18 different screens that the color is then pressed through. And so since the expensive part is making those screens, that's how they keep the cost down of making the
Hmm.
fabric, is that they can reuse those. And that's why you'll
And
see like one
the
hero
collection,
print. Yeah.
a collection will have multiple of the same print, but in different color waves, right?
Yes.
They'll be like, oh, this is the teal color wave, and this one is the magenta color wave, or whatever it ends up being. So, like this one that I just had up has, you can't even see the front of it, but it has 15 on there. So, this fabric, which would be essentially the main fabric of the collection, has 15. Now they have it in multiple different colors.
And they'll do that. They'll have like the
It
hero
makes it
print.
cheaper.
And then there's other ones that have far fewer screens to them, and that again helps keep it down. So like the one that you got that has
Like
the
a
15
gingham right
on it,
here.
that was the most expensive one to print. And then the cost is kind of spread out over
So
the other ones.
I
But
don't know why I have the perfect example sitting here, but here's a gingham. It has
yeah.
3 colors.
Well, it probably is
Okay.
one color
Well, it has three.
because well, the white is not color.
It's technically two. Yeah. So it has
Yeah.
the darker to make it look darker. The white
Yeah.
is the background
Yeah.
or the base.
Sometimes you will have a natural cotton that
Hmm.
is colored with white, and you can tell that by looking at the selvage. So that's a little tricky sometimes too.
This is a natural cotton,
Yeah.
and you can tell that has the speckled. I don't know why I happen to have all the right fabrics sitting right
You
here,
do.
but
We did not pre-plan this at all. This is
not
just
at
a little
all. This is a
tangent
huge
situation.
tangent.
But I think it's
Yeah,
an interesting tangent.
a relevant tangent.
Yes.
Um,
But it's
Fabric
just really
design is
interesting.
its. I
It's its
looked
own
into fabric
beast.
design. Last year at QuiltCon, I took a class on being able to make repeating patterns in fabric design and basically being able to send your fabrics to Spoonflower to have them printed or send them to a manufacturer to be considered as, a potential fabric. And that is when I learned Procreate because that's what we use because it's a very accessible program because it's free. Um, but yeah,
So
you learn a lot of that stuff.
I will tell you, fabric design, a lot of the people that do fabric design, they are not quilters, they're illustrators. And they have
Hmm.
licensed their designs to be fabric. And it's actually
Tula is weird.
yeah, Tula's very, very unique in that. But they've licensed their designs and then it's the design houses that are going through and taking bits of this
The
Laurel
imagery.
Birch cat and then taking it and making it so that it works for quilting, like the different scales and
Right.
the colors and things that we need for that. It's usually is not a quilter that is doing the design and making that. And it's because there really isn't that much money in it. Like I was one of the best
Unless you're
selling
Tula Pink.
unless you're Tula Pink or Kate Fassett. I was one of the best-selling like collaborative collections that went out for QT, and I think I maybe made $6,000 on the project, and that was a year and a half of work. and God knows how many quilts that we made and videos we promoted to go with it.
Mhm.
Now
It's a labor of love.
we
You'd have to
sold
want it.
we sold a bunch of it by selling it directly. That we made a lot of money on. But if you're just trying to live off that royalty, it's not it's not going to pay off. You need to have royalties of like, many things. You need to be like Rifle Paper Company, where like, yes, there's fabric, but there's also journals and calendars and dishware
Chairs.
and sheets and yeah, I know. I'm sewing with Rifle Paper Company right now, and obviously you would like
Yeah,
it
and
too.
I got my chair right here. I
Yeah.
changed my things so it's not my, yeah, there you go. My Rifle Paper Company chair.
So
But
don't go into fabric design thinking that you're gonna make bank
it's
and be
not the
the
place
next
to make
Tula.
money. It would
It is
be a
not.
labor of love, but at the same time,
But it's also fun and
um,
cool. So
so cool. You'll notice that a lot of quilters that become very famous might start a line, but they're getting help. It's not like they came
yeah,
up with all of it. And I'm not saying that, they're taking other people's ideas, but it is a very collaborative
it
process.
was. It was really kind of fun. So when I was working on the
I wish you
collection,
still had that chalk print. Sorry, I
I have
blurted, but
some.
I really wish that
No,
well, I mean, I wish you still had like the
the
ability to print
layers.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, that would be really cool. But
that was the coolest.
we
Ooh.
I still have some though. I saved some. I have a yard of everything for the girls, and then
I
three yards of each
somehow
background, and then I
don't
had
have
ended
the
up
whole
with a bunch
collection.
extra. Well, I probably can get you the whole collection because
I
I
have a
we
bag,
somehow ended up with a bunch
bag.
extra. So we can make it work. But
I'm happy to pay royalties for that.
whatever, you can just have it.
Whatever it's called.
It's just I have what I've made and then I have what I save for the girls and then the rest is just kind of taking
Do
up
you
space.
watch Tula's videos every Tuesday?
Not every Tuesday, no.
Maybe not every Tuesday, but she went through, even she doesn't have excess amounts of her own fabric. She has a bundle, maybe two bundles
Yeah.
of all her old fabric
But you
that's
make
out of
so
print.
much, like this entire shelf is quilts that I made,
Clearly
plus there's
yours.
one over there. So one, two, three, four, five. I have six quilts that I made with it, two bags. That that's enough.
That's
Like I don't, do I need more than that? No, I don't. Like I'm
that's
good.
heirloom enough. That's much
Yes.
more heirloom than a kid eventually getting bundles of fabric and being like,
Yeah.
what do I do with this? You can't be guaranteed that it's going to be your kid's interest
Yeah.
or anything like that, or they're going to understand the importance. But having a quilt, having something physical,
Yeah.
that's why we quilt. And we're all worried about our retirement money, and our entire collection being squandered away by the son that doesn't understand the value of this Allison glass fabric you've hoarded for all these years, right? Like they don't get it, even though we do. Like, hey, that banana fabric over there is very valuable. And they're like, it's banana fabric. How valuable could it be? It would
To the
like
right
be me
person.
look right. It's like me looking at a baseball card,
Yeah.
you know?
So
I
one
don't
thing that
know.
was really fun with doing it, so I had gotten the week I was supposed to give birth. I had gotten they weren't strike offs, they were like printed out proofs on like really nice paper
Hmm.
of all of the potential designs. And it was so I could and we wanted to get it down to like 16 prints. And I probably had 24 to 30 of these printed out
Hmm.
really nice. So you could actually look at them and see what the colors are looking like and mix and match and see which ones you want to go with. And then, so the day I was giving birth, or I had gone in, I knew I was going to get induced at midnight, and I had a Stash with Stephanie quilt to finish and video tutorial to do. And
Just a
so
little bit of stuff to do that day.
I went in and well, I went in, I had an exam, and then I had to go to the hospital for a while for more exam, and then I got sent home. And so I filmed, I finished the quilt top so that it could get sent off to the quilter. And because I wasn't
You
doing
are
my own quilting
insane.
at that point. And then I went through and I Um, made all my notes on what I thought needed to happen with the collection so that they could work on it while I went in and had a baby. And then I slept for like 2 hours and went in and had a baby. And that was the worst damn decision of my life was to work all day and then try and go have a baby. That was like so stupid. But
That's such a Stephanie decision.
I just
Like you're
wanted
like, I got this.
I
That's
wanted all
tomorrow's
my
problem.
I wanted all my ducks to be in a row so that I could go have a baby and not think about it. And it was really tough.
God, I
And
love you for that.
ended up being a terrible delivery, probably because I was too exhausted. But anyway, that's beside the point.
But you had
So
those ducks in a row.
I
They're
did have them in a
ducks,
row. But
not
then,
yours.
so for like a week, they did their thing. I was with the baby in the hospital, and then we did a Zoom, and it was like pre-pandemic, so it was like before everybody did Zooms all the time. And we were like in Photoshop, and I was like, "Hey, let's change this layer to this color." And it's really fun because when you have it all set up correctly, it's like two clicks of a button, and you've completely changed the look of a fabric by changing one little color out. And one of the things that I remember saying is that sometimes when you look at a collection and it looks very cohesive, but then there's like one color that
Hmm.
you're like, why the hell is that in there? It's because you started with a much
With a
larger
big
scope
pile.
and you pulled it all down, and then this color is still here that doesn't fit anymore, and you
Hmm.
didn't swap it out. And so that's how I really felt when I was doing it. And I felt like if I could go back, there's like two of the teals are just not quite close enough to where I feel like they're not as cohesive as they could be for like the lighter ones. I would mess with that some more. But I felt like it came together really well for what it was.
You had just had a baby, and it turns out the COVID happened like a few weeks later, not even.
She was 6 weeks old when the country shut down. So yeah,
So, you worrying about a couple of teals is really
probably not what I need to worry
I'm
about. You know how
super
I am.
impressed. I think
You know how I
everybody on
am.
here could chime in and say how impressed they are with the fact that
But
you're like, I'm going to get this pulled all together and then I'm going to go have a baby.
my mother was sitting next to me and was like, Stephanie, do you need to be doing this right now? You should be going and resting. And I'm sitting here in my mind, I'm like, it's 5 o'clock. I'm not going to be able to take a nap. I'm too excited about having this baby and being done with this pregnancy. Like, I
Oh my
might as well get
gosh.
this done and have all my
Your
notes.
nesting instinct was like businesswoman nesting instinct,
I mean, at that point, this was before our staff had gotten very large. We had some
which was a
people,
good thing, really.
it was good. So we had people who would come in just to fold, cut and fold,
Hmm.
stash them with Stephanie. And then we had
I
another
wanted that
person
job.
that was, I'm sure you would have loved it. And then we
It was
had
in
someone that
Indy,
was
though.
32 hours a week. And then it was me and my husband, and that was it. And so a lot of it fell to me because if I didn't get everything done, there wasn't anybody else to do it. And so, and I had her kind of at the end of the month. And I think I was working ahead at that point, but I just wanted to be able to like not have to worry about it. And she ended up being kind of in and out of the hospital with jaundice that first week anyway. So it was good that I
Mm,
wasn't trying to like do stashing with Stephanie, you know, like this was
right.
not the thing I needed to be doing um at that point. So
That
it
was just
worked out. It
crazy.
was fine, but yeah, I was it was the kind of delivery. We had two failed suction attempts and then still ended up with an emergency C-section. And the nurses told me that they only have like two or three births that are that traumatic a year. And I was like, well, lucky me. Take a nap before you're going to go get induced.
You're
Don't
like,
get induced at 12 in the morning. Don't do it.
you're like, I like to be the best,
Don't do
and
it.
even if it's the best of the worst.
I was.
And
I was absolutely the best of the worst. I remember them, they give you like a catheter and they're like, do you want
oh,
us to take
I
that out?
liked
And
the
I'm like,
catheter.
and I was like,
No,
no, I don't want to get out of this bed. Just do it in the
don't make
morning.
me.
Do it in the
Let's do it
morning.
later.
Oh my God.
Speaking of catheter, thinking of QuiltCon, that was like the running joke for one of the days because one of the fashion things was jumpsuits.
So everybody's naked in the stalls trying to go to the bathroom.
So
basically.
the bathrooms had a little bit of extra line that day
I
because
bet they did.
everybody's trying to take off these jumpsuits. And I mean, you you have to go, and this is why I made overalls,
I
okay?
mean, you have to
That
like not, you got to be naked in the stall if you were wearing a jumpsuit.
you gotta take it all off, and it is an adventure. And so my personal entry with anybody was like, they're like, oh my god, I love your overalls. And it was like, yeah, I've had 3 kids, I have to go to a bathroom, and I do not want to have a catheter put in today. So I made a lot of friends with that particular phrase because everybody was wearing jumpsuits. Oh my
I
god.
I want to share a pledging story that I don't think will share any of the secrets of pledging. So Chantel and I were
Yeah.
in the same sorority. That's how we met. And
Yes, we go
we
back.
had we had outfits that were within our pledge family that you had to wear during the final week of
Hmm.
pledging. And they were
I don't even
ridiculous.
remember mine.
Ridiculous. I had a jumpsuit, and I remember being in the middle of a public park in the middle of the night, having to go to the bathroom.
I
And
remember yes too. I remember I remember you.
and I had to
Oh my
pull
God.
that whole thing down. So I'm in there, like everything's out.
Have
Oh my God.
you
We were singing like I'm a little teapot, and then like,
I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Yep.
oh gosh.
I remember
Obviously alcohol was involved. Obviously. There's like no question.
there's no question
Yes.
that, was some of the best times of our life, though. And it's very embarrassing to think that singing I'm a Little Teapot while in a jumpsuit in the middle of a park,
Where I now
doing
take
what
my
we had to
children
do.
to go play. I literally take my
Oh
children
my
to this
God, you
playground to go
do
play
because you
now.
live
Yes,
down
I do. That's
the
one of their
road.
favorite parks to go to.
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh no.
someday the stories I'm going to tell my children.
Oh my gosh. Oh Lord.
I feel
Yeah,
like
that's
you and I are going to be the mothers where we're just going to be like, you think I didn't do worse than that? Like,
you think I'm disappointed?
yeah,
I
just,
might be. But because I was disappointed in myself for doing it first.
I mean, like, I don't know. Angela had a slumber party that didn't go well not that long ago. She called me at like 3 in the morning to come get her. And my husband was like, I'm going to make fun of her. And I'm like, you cannot,
No.
because I always want her to know that she can call mom and I will come get her. And it
And it
doesn't
seems
have,
like nothing
yeah,
now.
yeah, always. Like, I don't care. Like, it just didn't go well. I went and got her. It was fine. It is what it is.
We don't
But
make a big deal about it.
right now it's this. Someday it could be she is in over her head doing something she shouldn't be doing. She needs her mom, and I'm gonna be there. So, you know,
I mean, that's huge. I
yeah.
remember being in situations where it was like, shoot, who do I call? Right? Because I don't want to have to own up to this reality later. That's so important for kids.
So
It's not that I support what you've done, but I'm always here. That's the
I
key.
want to have a very European like look when it comes to alcohol,
Mhm.
because I feel that I was in not so safe situations because I didn't know what my limits were when I went to college. And of course, limits are different depending on what type of alcohol you're drinking. And so I want my girls to go there already knowing what those limits are. So that way they're not like,
Those
hey, Red
people.
Solo Cup, this is awesome. Like, you know,
I, oh my God. I
like
just
I
typed in the thing. I'm like, we are so good at getting off topic.
we are.
We
We're
really
very off
are.
topic now.
But I mean,
We
you'll
went
love
from
it's worth.
jumpsuit to Stephanie singing I'm a little teapot and drunk in a field.
Actually, we went all the
And
way from the fact
yes,
that salvage on the fabric design. How did we even get to that?
I don't know. We were talking about
Does anybody know
fabric
how we
design.
got where we are?
It was Procreate. We were talking about Procreate, and you were talking about the programs you were using. I can trace it. You were talking about the programs you're using to do which foundation paper piecing. And then we got
Yes.
talking in different programs and we got talking about how it's different from fabric design, from fabric or
Oh,
pattern
and then
creation,
Illustrator.
and then Illustrator, and then I lost it from there. But
Somehow we ended
eventually
up on the
we got
salvages.
back we got back to salvages and how that works. And then it was QuiltCon
We tried to bring
and
it
then
back,
and
but
then
then we
Steffi
brought
and
it
Chantel.
serious.
Yes, we did. We're real on this. It's getting towards, it's
I
after
don't
the 11 o'clock
know.
hour.
It's fine. We're
It's
fine.
all
I
good.
guess QuiltCon's gonna have to be a two-part series because there was just so much going on. I
I'm
mean,
sure.
we haven't
I mean,
even
you
got
haven't even
to,
talked about like the quilts.
oh my gosh, the quilts. Actually, I'll tell you the truth. I spent very little time with the quilts because of the number of people that were coughing in the aisle.
Really?
Ugh, ugh, ugh. Yes. So I tried to get in there. I took the very first tour with Mary Fonz
Oh,
on
well, that's fun.
the quilts of Tara. That was like their big exhibit, and then quilts of the Southwest. I can't pronounce Tara's last name, or I would, but I can't. It starts with an F. No, whatever. All I can think of is fairies starts with F, and we get all the way back to books. So,
Yeah, we won't
anyways,
do that.
quilts of the Southwest, which were really cool to look at. And then after that, I had gone over. I just didn't think it was going to be that busy. I wish I had taken in all the quilts right then and there, but the exhibit hall got very busy that Thursday morning. I went around and did some shopping, and by the time I got over to the quilts, it was just full of people. So I avoided the quilts until about Saturday afternoon. Um, I had done a little bit here and there, but every time I had gone over there, there were people like coughing and
Like
just
hacking up a lung.
standing there and coughing. And
I
I
feel
didn't have a
like,
mask with me. And I brought home a cold. Not only did I bring home an awesome haul of stuff, which I have so, because I'm a shopper. I'm sorry, it
you're
happens.
definitely a shopper.
I am
It's all
definitely,
good.
and I don't shop often, but when I shop hard. Plus, I gave John an ultimatum one day. I told him, my bag is very heavy from class. You can come get my bag and I will stop shopping because I have nothing to put my stuff in. Or I'm just going to go shopping with this bag. He said, I'm not coming. So I went shopping with the bag. It was a
It's all
very
good.
large bag. It was very heavy. And my bra strap was like burned into my shoulder by the end from like the bag hitting the bra strap that was hitting
I
my shoulder. It's worth
One
it.
time
Oh, the stuff was so good.
at Quilt Market, I had bruises on both shoulders from the strapping. And that was stuff that I like had bought to bring back for the shop, but it
Yeah.
was still a
And it's a
significant amount.
similar experience. Like
Yes.
it was, yeah. So I got into the quilts. I missed one aisle of the quilts. And I did it because the amount of coughing and hacking and people that weren't it, like when you go to an art museum, there's a rhythm to like stopping,
Yes.
standing, looking, moving on. And if you're not in that rhythm, you stand back. And if you are in that rhythm, you stand forward. And you generally go in the same direction, or at least you're polite about the fact that you're stopping and standing and looking. You peek in, get your picture, and move out, right? There was like none of that
Happening.
decorum like going on with this. And the amount of people that were just coughing, I couldn't get
So
over
I
it.
feel like
Oh,
that surprises me
and not this kind
because
of coughing, that you're coughing down and stuff. They're just like, and you're like, I want
I
to see the
feel like
show, but I
we are
physically
like
can't.
in a world now where if you know you're going to be in public and you know you've got a cough, people like put on a mask, I feel like. And I think,
Or
I
kind
don't
of
know.
keep your distance a little bit. It was so much. And um,
Like I feel like it's not a big deal anymore to
There was
like
definitely a
do that.
certain crowd of people that were doing it, and I'm not gonna call any, demographics out or anything like that, but it was there was just a lot of, and it wasn't like like I have a little tickle. It was like, dude, do you have like COVID or influenza or like strep or something like that? Because I think people spend so much money to go to these shows, they're not going to miss it,
No, they're not.
right?
Which is understandable, but
And
like,
there were a number of people that
but we
were
have the
wearing
tools now,
masks,
you know.
but you could see that the people that were wearing masks were the people that were protecting themselves. And I was so sad that I didn't have the tools to protect myself, because here I am with like a snuffly nose. Multiple people came back with COVID after all of this, which, it is what it is these days. It's like the flu,
Yeah.
it's not what it was. But still, the schools have been full of sick kids and things like that. Like I came home and my daughter had strep. We've had strep at our house basically nonstop
Yeah,
since
you've had it bad.
Christmas. Actually, since Thanksgiving. I've had strep 3 times because I'm always around my kids. And you know how much electric toothbrush heads cost? Oh my God. Like
Maybe just go with the plain for a
I've
little
gone,
while.
yeah, for the rest of the season, I am literally brushing my teeth with like a Batman child's toothbrush. I'm not even kidding. It's Batman because that's what we had. So I've given up my electric toothbrush for the season because every time I go back to it, I get strep
You get
or
sick
something
again.
like that. And then I need to change my toothbrush. Oh my God.
Oh,
But the quilts were beautiful. I have a few favorites that I've taken photos of and I've put up on my Instagram as well. And you can see all of them. I ordered the catalog that will come and have all the photos. But my favorite thing about walking around the quilts is seeing the detail work that you can't
yeah,
see in an
in the
image.
photo. Yeah, unless it is like a close up.
It is really getting up there close and seeing that people have written words in their quilting, or they've done hand quilting intermixed with like yarn tying intermixed with machine quilting. And we're seeing how perfect some of these things are pieced. Oh my gosh, you're like, how the heck? We went on that cruise when we went on our cruise. Joe was there of the Crafty
Yeah,
Nomad. She had a quilt in the show this year.
that's really exciting.
It was one of the ones that she had had when we had done the trunk show or whatever.
Hmm.
And oh my gosh, just seeing that hung up and seeing she could do a circle.
Yeah,
Like her whole thing was curves. And yes, it is like seeing the brush strokes on a painting. Like you want to get up close to that and see what it is like. And in a way, when they're hung, it's different than when you see a quilt on a bed or see it fluffed
for
out.
sure.
You know, it's it becomes artwork on the wall, which is why I think that standard art museum practices should ensue. It should be quiet, and everybody should walk around, with the ideas of the rules. The trip in general was fantastic. I brought my husband with, and he didn't even walk into that convention center. We had very, very different vacations. So I was there for QuiltCon, and John exercised on purpose. He climbed mountains. And so our conversations went like this. Oh my God, today I learned this awesome method. And then he would be like, that's really cool. So I went to this particular mountain and be like, and this method is so useful because of X, Y, and Z. And he'd be like, I literally had to climb on my hands and knees to get up this mountain face. And then it'd be like, I'm so glad I'm here. And I met X, Y, and Z. And he's like, and then I went and got some tequila afterwards because I felt like I earned it. And that is how our conversations went. They were like, we had conversations, but we weren't in each other's conversations at all.
This this is also how my husband and I's conversations have been going since I dove straight first into the books. I'm telling him the latest of what's
Woo!
going on in the plot, and he's trying to tell me how his day went at work. And I'm just like,
It's like
I'm
you
like,
do this.
oh,
And it's like,
it's quite entertaining.
eh, yes, we're having very different conversations at the very same time. And we're trying to take in what the other person has told us, but it's also not as relevant to us. I'm like, you went up a mountain.
Cool.
Cool. And he's like, you learned applique. That's awesome. But applique means nothing to him.
Yeah.
And the effort of climbing up a rock face means really nothing to me, other than I wouldn't do that and he wouldn't do that, right? But I will say that we did do one thing together, embarrassingly so. We went to yeah, and she smiles because she
I
knows.
know exactly what it is.
I admit to having this light obsession with a musical artist that is an indie rapper. He's considered a meme rapper, so it's more like funny rap. Doesn't really matter. Nobody here is probably going to know anything about this person, but I went to a Baby No Money concert and I drug my husband to that concert.
I'm currently looking
Happily,
to find
he
vinyl.
listens. He you can get some of the vinyl and he listens to it because it is really so the reason we kind of found this artist was actually a mutual thing. So he likes to dirt bike and we take these side by sides out. And my requirement to go out dirt biking or going on these side by sides, which are like glorified go-karts essentially, um, is that there has to be a mad sound system. All right. Because I'm not driving around in the dirt and getting dirty without sorry, I gotta put this in here. So my requirement for driving around in the dirt and getting muddy and letting John let his adrenaline go wild while I'm a passenger is that we have a really good sound system. So he bought a really good sound system. And then my requirement from him, you find music that makes this even better. It's like, done. I can do that. Enter Baby No Money, the very awkward love of my life, other love of my life.
Is that
So we,
accurate?
oh yeah, but that's like old.
That's not a good one.
Yeah, that's not good, but it is, yeah, it's essentially, oh man, I don't have any great pictures. I mean, they're all grainy. It was a
This is what
concert.
he looks like.
Yes.
I feel like this explains it very well for it.
Yes.
Like
He's
he's a
29. He's like 10 years younger than me, guys. And I'm like, can somebody send this to him? So every year for the past 2 or 3 years, I've been in the top like 0.01% of listeners on Spotify. It tells me this every year. He is not
that's funny.
necessarily like this big deal, but he had it just happened. So this is how I ended up getting my husband to go along with me at all. Is that I'm like, Baby No Money's gonna be there at the same time I'm there. I'm going. He's like, who are you going with? I'm like, I don't know. I'll find some weirdo quilter that wants to go to some weirdo rapper show with me. Like, not a big deal. Right. And John's like, you sure about that plan? And hyperactive me is like, absolutely. Like, why wouldn't some person, random person, want to go with me to a concert? I'll pay for it. And he's like, think this through for a few weeks.
He was trying to get me to go, but it just was not going to
I
work
well,
this
you
year.
you would have gone if we
I
were
would have
there.
gone.
It was
I We would have
yes.
had a good time, I'm sure.
It was great. So we got there and you can have the floor level or you can pay extra to sit on this like balcony area. And they had more seats up there. So I went up to John and I said, if I don't get a t-shirt, can we please get the balcony seats? And he's like, what's the point? And I said, they have chairs. He's like, done. $120, just like that. Like we get chairs. That's how old we are. We're like, we get chairs. We're gonna go to the top level.
We're gonna go to a concert, but we gotta sit down.
We gotta sit down.
That's funny.
It was fun. The whole trip was honestly a blast. Not just QuiltCon, but getting to spend some time with my husband. Carrie says she's got to say goodnight. Hey, at least you got to hear all about the awkward antics of me going to a concert with people that were much, much younger than me. They almost didn't let me in because I had a little case of my medicines because I'm diabetic and I have anxiety and stuff. And I have a little case of like my sugar pills, you know, and my EpiPen and all this stuff. And they're like, we can't guarantee this is this. And I'm like 40. What if I have a diabetic moment? What if somebody eats peanuts? What if I'm stressed? It's just my medicine. Like I'm old. Like let me in.
The whole
thing was great.
I love how you claim that you're 40 because I turned 40. So you're just have embraced it already.
40. I'm there. I'm dealing with it.
That's funny.
I'm already dealing with it. I mean, all my friends turned 40 in January for the most part. So I'm there.
You should just hang on a little bit longer. You have a few more months.
But it was worth it for that. They let me in with my medication.
There you go. That works. Someday when we're quilting in the nursing home with our vinyl record collections, someone will bring us our medication.
Somebody will bring it to us and we won't have to worry about it. Oh my gosh.
Honey, it's time to take your meds.
The problem is that I didn't have, I know, woo-hoo, get low. Yeah, that's pretty much what it's going to be. We're like, yeah, it's going to be us and Britt and taking our meds. And it is against the law for them to not allow me to have my medical supplies, but my medications in their special case were not all labeled. So I knew what they all were. I'm like, this is Benadryl. This is Xanax. This is Ritalin, prescribed Ritalin. Okay. You know, this is ibuprofen, vitamin ibuprofen at this age. Okay. This red and blue one is Tylenol because they're trying to keep kids from bringing in like
Molly or something.
Real drugs.
Do they even call it Molly? I don't even know.
I don't know.
I'm so
they're
old.
Like, is this your ecstasy? I'm like, no, this is ibuprofen. Like, God, don't you know what that looks like? It's a brown pill.
We're so old.
Oh my God. For that concert, I was so old.
Yeah.
I didn't even care. I had the greatest time.
That's good.
I feel like there's a ton of stuff we should touch on probably the next week, all the hand quilting stuff and some of the merch and things like that. But I know you are heavily interested in getting back to your book.
I am, because I have according to the list.
Just staying up all night.
This is my last spicy scene that I have like basically queued up to listen to after this. So
this is your baby, no money.
This is when they hopefully are going to finally realize that they love each other. Hopefully. They might still be really dumb about it. I don't know. But, you know, hopefully
you don't know.
Love each other.
If they find out they're going to love each other, they're definitely getting spicy.
This character, first of all, they have not needed to love each other in order to be spicy to this point. And this character,
hate love.
If she is not really, raw attraction is probably the best. Yes. But if you tell this character to do A, she's gonna do Z. And so even if it's in her best interest. So
yeah, that's fair. I know somebody like that. Personally.
You.
My poor husband getting drugged to a concert. And then I wanted to go clubbing after that because I had had a couple beers. You know what? These have like hardly anything in them compared to actual beer. I thought we're going to go out. We're going to go clubbing. And John's like, I want to go to bed, dude.
I guarantee my husband is
No.
already asleep upstairs. There is going to be no fun
Oh,
Friday
so
night
is
anything
mine.
at my house.
It's just going to
Uh,
be you listening to your book. And that's okay.
Hey, I got
I
I
mean,
got little earbuds now, so I can lay in bed and I can listen to it and not disturb anybody.
if you would like, you
It
can
was really
have my
good.
old AirPods that are temperamental, but they have very good
It's all
moments
good.
to them.
My
The
$20
dog ate one of
Target
them
one,
once.
it did it come out? Which end?
No, part of it came, part of it came, and I had to buy a replacement. It was $89. I did not want to spend.
Yeah,
Finally, I got a new pair though from Santa.
there you go. No, I got a $20 one from Target. No, they're doing just good.
You know
I
what
can
though? Probably comparable.
probably, and I won't freak out if I
Probably
lose them.
comparable.
I won't freak out.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll give you all a book report next week. I'm and they asked what book it is. I'm reading the Court of Thorn and Roses
You should
series.
probably
I'm
type it
on,
in.
I should probably do that, yes. Um, it is called ACOTAR is what it is called for. I am currently on the last book.
But ACOTAR doesn't really make sense until you Google it. It's a court of something in roses.
Thorns and Roses, yeah.
Thorns.
And the first one,
You'll recognize the cover, honestly, because it's been everywhere.
it has been everywhere. But the first one, super slow, start and basically Beauty and the Beast with some weird fairy relations. And in the middle
At
of it,
which point you can decide if this is your kind of book.
not really. That part's not
You
super
say book two?
explicit. Um, it gets very interesting about halfway through, and book two is like a wild ride. A wild ride. You get past
Yeah.
those introductory chapters of book two, and it is just like
Takes a
everything
book
you
to set the
thought,
scene.
everything you thought you knew in book one, throw that out the window. It's quite good.
How long will it take me to get through? Well, Kindle says it'll take me about 8 hours if I read it. The audiobook version, which by the way, did you see that
I've been
they
doing the
have like an
audios for all of them.
extended they have like an extended audio, a theatrical audio
I have
version?
not been able to get into that kind of thing. I don't know why. I was a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan when I was young, and they did an Audible exclusive where they like continued the story with the actors because
Mhm.
they're all old now. You can't play
Which
forever
rip,
young vampires.
Michelle Trachtenberg or whatever
I
passed away
know.
this week.
That was really sad. I saw that. She's like our age. But they
She's my age. You're older.
I
Remember?
know, I'm an old
Own
fart.
40. I don't
Old
have to
fart.
own 40 yet.
I do. I have to do it. But I listened to a dramatized version of that and it was kind of fun, but it was just like, I don't know, it was a little weird to listen to for me. So I just like a narrator and you know,
Well, as I read it in my head, as I hear it, I just told her that it must be juicy. No, it is a little dirty.
it is.
Yeah,
It's a little dirty. It's like it's
it's a
definitely
little
adult
dirty.
Beauty and the Beast. It's adult Beauty and the Beast for sure. Um,
Some extra beast in there.
we really went downhill. I think we should cut it now before we get any worse.
I think so. Book report over.
Book report. I'll do my book report. We'll see if Stephanie has a hole in her heart next week, or if I can
Or if you actually
confidently
finish a
say,
project, maybe
"Oh,
you'll
that's
finish a
probably not going to
project.
happen." I don't know. I
If you
should pay
listen,
attention.
if you actually sew while you listen,
I mean, there are things that could be done with that. It's a possibility.
it's a possibility.
It's a
Oh my
possibility. I
God.
made progress today. I got some things done.
Well, how much further do you have to go? How long is your
Audiobook.
audio for the rest of the
Well,
book.
I certainly am not going to do it now because I'm gonna regret my life decisions, and I have 5 hours left.
She's
I
doing some of it now.
um, I probably will regret my life choices and listen to all of it tonight, and then be really tired tomorrow and need a
Just like
coffee.
your birth, but you're not
Yes.
giving birth tomorrow, so it's fine.
Well, I am running children to swim lessons and coding and Starbucks for lunch because that's our Saturday tradition. And
Well,
solo
Starbucks at
parenting all
least will
day.
get you by.
Starbucks will help. It'll
The
be fine.
Starbucks is going to be critical for your day.
See, I can sit and I can listen while they're in swim lessons for like an hour and a half, but after having listened to a very spicy scene in public already today, I don't really want to repeat that tomorrow. That was not a pleasant experience. This is something where you do not want to be blushing in public when you're listening to.
Like, why are you getting all red? And
Yeah.
you're like,
I will say, so it kind of like if you are like just dipping your toe into the world of spicy books, like it eases you in pretty well, I feel like. But by the time you get to the fifth book, they assume you are down for the
four
ride.
books in.
You're down for the ride. They are gonna leave nothing to the imagination. And that was what I was listening to in public today, and I was like, "Oh my God, what am I doing? This is not this is not okay. This is something to
I
be listened to by myself."
I have gotten so many less memes sent to me and reels this week.
That is
And I
because
thought she was being polite because clearly I'm coming back from a trip and all this.
no,
She's been busy,
it's
very
because I've
busy.
been sending Fairy and Akatar and Fourth Wing memes to Stephanie 2.0 because she's read all the series. So you're just gonna have to join the book
Where
club.
is 2.0? We need that girl
But
here.
sure, we should do like an actual so long. You and I need to
You
chat
know what?
offline
And
about doing that.
actually, we need to figure that out about doing,
We do.
a monthly or every other month kind of thing where we have everybody tag on because I
We'll
miss those two.
we'll chat about
We'll
that offline.
continue that later.
But it is almost midnight. I got a spicy scene to listen to. And thank you all for joining us. And we'll talk more about Quill Talk next
I
week.
managed to not sew a single thing, guys.
I did lots of things. I sewed all of my little
I
ornament toppers
I drank a
together.
whole drink, so we're
You know,
good.
that's it's all good. All right.
It's all good.